meeting, our Friday morning meeting, and we're going to kick it off with Tom Principe from SalesSXess, and he's going to share some of his tips and tricks with us. We're here at Doorbrook Park on, what is today's date? The 11th of June. Very excited. We have a whole bunch of people in person here with us, and no pressure, Tom. You're the first one to go live in a year, over a year. Yay!
Well, if this goes bad, just pan the bagels. That's what we're trying to center attention here. So, welcome, fellow Perks. It's about time, huh?
Yay!
Back in person. Golly, and welcome to all those who will be watching us at some point. So it's really an honor to come out here for the first time and be the first presenter in a live setting. It was so nice to see everybody's face, and it was so funny to watch everybody's expressions. They tried to put Zoom faces to real faces and make sure we had the right people on there. But anyway, today I want to really cover three things. So the first thing I want to talk about is my why. And I'll talk about why that's important. And then I want to talk about the what, which is the what confirmed the decision that I made regarding my why and what I wanted to do with my career. And then lastly, I'll give just a brief overview of kind of how I do what I do. So I'm going to start with my why, because I think that's important for all of us to understand. You know, why do you do what you do? It's not about what you do necessarily or how you do it. It's why did you chose to do what you are doing currently for your career? And for some of us, that can take years to figure that out. And for some of us, if we're lucky, maybe we figured that out early in our career. For me, it took me probably at least 15 years or so into my career to figure out, my specific why and what I wanted to do. So here's my why. So I graduated a degree in psychology. I worked in the psychiatric field for about 5 years with emotionally disturbed kids and their families. Very rewarding, but also very high burnout. And so after 5 years of that, I was just burned out. It was just very frustrating. So I started thinking, what's a career I can do where effort equals income? And that's what I was interested in, because I was tired of working like for the same wage and putting out a lot of effort and not matching that with my income. So I thought, well, sales, that's a logical type of profession, that effort will equal income. The problem was I didn't have really any sales experience other than selling encyclopedias for about 1.5 years door to door. So that wasn't going to get me a lot on my resume. So I had to go out and find a sales job. And I did. I was very fortunate because I found a couple of different sales roles, and I was successful in that. But it wasn't quite achieving what I wanted to do in terms of, yes, I was getting income, I was putting out effort, but I felt like I was lacking the helping side of it, which was like kind of my psychology background. So finally, I actually got a job in pharmaceutical sales. And so for me, that was a perfect combination of something I loved, which was sales, but also being able to contribute and give back to other people as well. Because say what you want about pharmaceutical companies, the fact is they do produce medications that can improve people's lives and in some cases save people's lives. So now I felt like there was a connection there in terms of what I was doing in terms of the effort equals income, but more importantly also contributing and doing something other than just collecting a paycheck and giving back to other people as well. So what confirmed my decision and my path forward in terms of my career? Well, ironically, I have several examples, but ironically the most recent one just happened last Tuesday. So I have a friend of mine, he has an AV business, small business. It's just really he and his wife, and he's got a couple of contracts to work with him. And I've known him for quite some time. He's done work at my house. We've become good friends. And he reached out to me Tuesday and texted me, said, can you give me a call when you get a chance? And so I said, sure. And so I talked to him, and he starts telling me about, I'm really frustrated. I'm working like 80 hours a week. I'm out on every job. I'm overseeing everything. I'm a perfectionist. My wife, who does the books for the company, she's frustrated because, she feels like, I'm putting in so many hours, and yet the income that we're getting, we're still, kind of living paycheck to paycheck, so to speak. And he said it was causing a lot of friction as well. And so that really hit a nerve with me, because that's exactly why I want to do what I do, because it's about helping small business owners who are struggling to figure out, what's the pathway forward. And the fact that this guy who's a friend of mine called me up and shared that with me, I mean, I felt like I was almost back doing psychotherapy again, because he was sharing things with me that were very personal. And so I take that as a kind of a trust thing. And so that was very important to me. So that's my why, and that's kind of the what that confirms what I'm doing and makes me reinforce that I made the right decision. So now, what do I do? So I work as basically a licensed sales advisor. I have a network of about 160 other sales leaders that work throughout the country and do the same thing that I do. But basically, I provide small business owners with a path to helping them figure out a plan to grow their sales and to grow their revenue. So that can involve things like creating a sales plan, finding their best customers, and then obviously with the end goal of growing their sales as well. There's many different areas, that I will focus on, but in terms of the core audience that I focus on, it's really small to mid-sized business owners. Usually they're B2B focused. It could be any industry. It's not industry specific. And there are companies that are either experiencing stagnant or declining sales, or there could be companies that are at an inflection point where they've been successful to a point, but now they want to double or triple their sales income, and they really just don't have a strategy, and they don't have the infrastructure also to kind of support that. So that's really the kind of key people that I help. And then specifically, what do I do? So I follow basically a process, so to speak, right? So to me, it starts with the sales strategy, right? You have to develop a sales strategy first, and that involves things like knowing who are your best customers, who are not your customers, what is your value proposition, and then from there, you can build your sales messaging or your sales story, and that's the why, right? Why do you do what you do? And again, it's not about telling your customers, I do this, and here's how I do it. It's about why do you do, because you're trying to connect on that emotional level with your customers, because people relate to that, and people will share more with you if you let them talk about their why and their pain points and the solutions that they're looking for to help solve that. So that's really important. And then the last part is really the process. And the process is really the structure, right? So that means things like, how do you create a sales pipeline? How do you validate the different stages in the pipeline? Who's responsible for doing what? How do you do the sales forecasting and kind of tie that into the pipeline? CRM system, which is a customer relationship management tool. How do you use that to kind of track activity, track your best customers, and so on and so forth? So those are the things that I kind of create at the front end, which is the strategy and the process. But then I also stay with the company and I actually work with them to lead the execution of the strategy. So it's not, here's a big PowerPoint deck, here's the problem, here's the solutions, go solve it. No, I'm the guy that kind of stays with them and works with them and their team to help them grow their sales. And so, for me, that's kind of the reward. I tell my clients all the time, for me, the best outcome is two things. Number one, I help people professionally in their business lives, but also I help them personally to get their lives back on track. And that references the example I gave earlier of my friend who contacted me. So that's really it. My company is SalesSXess. I'll leave my information on the website, and it was really a pleasure to be able to do the first live presentation here today. Everybody have a bagel and enjoy. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you, Tom. Does anybody have any questions for him?
What I'm hearing is a little bit of a mismatch in what you presented versus where I'm at right now.
Okay.
It's just one guy.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm hearing something that sounds like it's a little more geared towards a sales team.
It could be either or. So I'll give an example of 3 clients that I'm working with right now. The one that I started working with, they had no salespeople. They had hired somebody about a year ago, didn't work out. Okay, so in that case, I basically hired and onboarded the first sales professional for them, and now I'm working with this individual and the business owner to kind of get things rolling and start to target the markets, etc. In another case, I have a company, engineering company. This gentleman, he has a team, but they're really more engineers and project managers. They're not salespeople, but we're trying to kind of help them understand how to prospect, how to make that people
Do a little more sales strategy setting.
Right, exactly. Now we'll see if they're the right fit for that role. And then in the last case that I have, when I came on board, he actually had 2 senior salespeople, one of which we let go, and the other one who's now kind of the VP of sales, but he's basically the only salesperson there right now. So it really just depends, Jim. I can go from 0 people to usually up to 4 or 5. If it's much beyond like 10, then they probably have a structure already in place.
Anybody else? No? All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.